Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the American Cup Blitz being held here in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, the overall American Cup ended yesterday. I won in the open section and Alice Lee won in the women's section, but at the very end, they hold a very special Blitz event for all the players who participated throughout the past week. So there are many top dogs playing, including Fabiano Caruana, Wesley So, Lenier Dominguez, Ray Robson, etc. Very, very strong Blitz tournament with a grand prize of $5,000. So while some might deem this event as quote-unquote fun, for me, this was very, very serious. Now, we're going to be picking it up in the 6th round of the tournament. I got off to a red hot start, I should say, by scoring 4.5 points out of 5, with my lone draw being against my fellow countryman and strong grandmaster Wesley So. Now, in this 6th round, I'm playing against Ray Robson, who is on 4 points out of 5, and let's jump right into the action. So the game starts with the move e4, e5, and Ray decides to play the move knight c3. Now here I go knight c6, and Ray plays the move bishop c4. Now what's funny about this opening is that this was actually the opening that I was playing in the first couple of games. I had this identical position against Carissa Yip in round number 1, and she played the move knight a5. So to sort of finish the circle, or the loop, I play knight a5 myself, trying to get rid of this nice bishop on c4. Ray goes bishop b3, I play bishop c5, we get f4, and now I play the move d6. Ray plays queen f3, and here I go queen to e7, trying to overprotect this pawn on e5, and always keeping an eye on this bishop on b3. So Ray plays f5 here. Now I go h6, trying to stop him from pinning this knight on f6 as the pawn covers this critical square. We get bishop e3, I trade, and now I play the move pawn to c6. Now at this point I was feeling pretty good about my position here because the bishop is always stuck on b3. I can always trade the horse for the bishop whenever I want. But additionally, after I go c6, I'm preparing down the road to play the move d5 and build the classic big black center. So Ray goes knight f3, I play b5, castles, and now I play the move a6 here, overprotecting the pawns, and basically asking Ray, what you gonna do? Because I can always trade the knight for the bishop, but in the meantime, I'm trying to finish my development, and I can still castle my king to the king side or to the queen side. So Ray goes king h1, and now I play the move bishop b7, and here we get the move knight to e2. Now during the game, I did see that Ray had this option to play bishop takes f7, but I simply was unsure what was going on after I take. White plays b4, trying to trap this knight. There's no great squares available in this position, but here I can play the move d5, and if white takes the horse, now I get d4, forking the queen and the knight, and it's anybody's guess as to what is going on. Ray instead plays move knight to e2, and now I play the move c5 here. We get knight g3, and now I decide to castle my king. Now again, I could always trade the knight for the bishop, but one thing that you try to do in the game of chess, especially when you have a situation like this where the bishop is stuck on the square, is that I am trying to delay trading the knight for the bishop as long as I can, and I will improve my position before I go for that exchange. So I castle. Ray plays move c3, and here I decide to play the move rook fe8. Now this is a blitz game. Obviously you don't want to burn a lot of time, but keep in mind here that I'm playing for what I like to coin using the term of flow, where what I'm doing here is I'm not really doing deep calculations. I'm just trying to improve my position, and when I go rook fe8, I do allow Ray to be able to move the bishop from b3. But after white moves the bishop, for example, to c2, now I can play d5, and all of a sudden I've got this big black center, all the pawns on this rank, the rook coming to d8, and at this point it feels like black should be doing very, very well. So that's why Ray goes rook e1, I play rook a d8, and now he plays move pawn to c4. Now this is really a dream here because on top of having a very nice position, Ray is also way down on the clock, and because we're playing blitz with a 3-minute and 2-second increment, if you get too low on time, you're supposed to blunder and lose the game. So Ray goes c4. Here I trade the pawns, and now I play the move rook to b8. Now I could have traded the knight for the bishop here, but after queen takes b3 and queen c3, for example, white has a very compact pawn structure, everything is guarded, and down the road I'm kind of worried that white might be able to attack on the king side. So I go rook to b8. Ray plays bishop a4, and now I go bishop c6. We get queen c3, and here I play the move rook b4, attacking the bishop and forcing Ray to trade the juicers. Now, you might think that black is not much better here, but white is actually in a lot of trouble, primarily because my knight has this great square on d4. I can create the classic diamond hands formation with the knight, but also I can go for the double stack on the b file here, and with Ray only having 4 seconds on the clock, it's simply a matter of time before his position collapses. So Ray goes b3. I play a5, we get knight d2, and now I play the move a4, trying to undermine the pawn chain, and Ray continues with the move h3. Now after Ray plays this move h3 here, I go rook e to b8, overloading this pawn, and now we get the move rook b1. I finally trade, and here I go knight to d4. Now at this point, the game is technically winning for me by any regular circumstance because I have the pawns here. I've got the bastion with the knight, the double stack, the pressure on this pawn, the knight pressuring this one, and all roads here should lead to Rome. So Ray goes rook e1. I play queen b7, setting up what is known as Aliekin's gun with the triple stack on the file. We get rook e3, and now I play the move rook to a8. Ray goes king h2 here, and now I play the move king h7, and here we get the move rook d3. Now you might be wondering, can't white try to contest the file with rook to a1? This is a very bad move, because I can trade the towers, and now I have knight to c2 here, forking the queen and the rook, and it's uh-oh spaghetti-o time, and white will lose the game. So Ray goes rook d3. Now I play rook to a2, creating the classic kebab on the 7th rank, and here we get the move rook e3 back, and now I play the move queen a8. Now in this position with Ray only having 3 seconds, it's a very tough position to play. The rook targets the knight, my other rook and knight are targeting the pawn, my queen and my knight are targeting this pawn. With all these issues in the position, it's very understandable when Ray makes the final fatal blunder here with the move rook to d3, allowing rook to c2, as now the queen gets trapped, other than going to this a1 square. And here I can trade the queens, and now I sack the rook with rook takes knight, and after takes, knight takes b3. My knight is forking the rooks. The pawns on e4 and c4 are very soft, and at this point, the result is not in doubt. So Ray plays rook d1. I take, he takes, now I take e4, and here we have reached a rook and pawn endgame, but as you guys can tell, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, white has 1, 2, 3, and at this point, this is simply GG, why not? So Ray goes rook d7, f6, g4, here I play h5, king g3, takes, and now I play the move king h6. Ray goes rook c7, I play rook c4 here, and now we get the move king h4, and here I play rook c1. Ray goes back to g3, and now I start pushing my p up the c file, we get rook c8, and here I play the move king to g5. Now my king is perfectly placed to gobble up the pawns on g4 and f5 after I play the move rook c3, checking the king back. So Ray goes rook g8, I check, and here Ray Robson resigns the game because if he were to move the king back after takes, I have 3 extra pawns here in this endgame, and there's no hope for white to save the game. So overall, this game was a very clean, very precise game, very limited opportunities for Ray after the opening phase. I get a big win, and with this win, I now move to 5.5 points out of 6. And in the 7th round, I'm going to be facing Levon Aronian, who is on 5 points out of 6. So I'm leading the tournament, doing very, very well, and now I face a familiar foe who I recently competed against in the Champions Showdown about 2 weeks ago. So here I play e4, Levon plays e6, and once again, I decide to go for my patented exchange French system here because it's very, very easy to play, and in Blitz games, you can simply develop the pieces without too much difficulty. So I go knight f3. Levon plays bishop d6, I play c4, c6, and here I play the move knight c3. Now, in our encounter in the Champions Showdown, in the Blitz and Rapid games, I did play an early c5 here. Levon would retreat the bishop on this diagonal, and the games were actually quite sharp. This time around, I try to follow the classic acronym that everyone knows as KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. So I play knight c3 here, developing the horse. Levon goes knight e7, and now I play the move h3, stopping black from playing bishop g4 to pin the knight on f3. Levon castles, and here I play the move bishop d3, and Levon decides to take the pawn on c4. I take back, he goes knight a6, I castle, and now we get to move knight c7. Now in this position, white has a slight weakness. We have what is known as the isolated pawn on d4, but I have these great diagonals for the bishops. I have an open file for the rook, and according to my evaluation of this position, I thought already here that I was doing a little bit better at this point. So I go rook e1. Now here Levon plays move bishop f5. This is simply a bad move in the position. Black should either play h6 to stop the move bishop g5, pinning the knight, or play bishop e6, immediately trying to shut down any threats on this diagonal. Instead, Levon goes bishop f5, and now I play bishop g5, pinning the knight here. And black's big issue is that he cannot play the move f6 here, as that would put your king in check, and white would take the king and win the game. So Levon goes bishop e6, I play queen b3, he trades, and now he plays the move king h8 after a bit of a think. Now again, this is a blitz game, so you can't spend a lot of time. The computer thinks that after knight d5, black is only very marginally worse, but with this very pesky pin here, king h8 makes a lot of sense as you want to play f6 to shut down the bishop on the diagonal. So here I trade the bishop, I go knight to e5, threatening to fork the king and the queen, and now we get the move king g8. Here I play queen b3, targeting the juicer on b7, and Levon goes rook b8 to guard the pawn. Now if Levon were to take this pawn on d4, after queen takes b7, suddenly the knight, the pawn, and the bishop are all big targets here, and white should win the game. So we get rook b8. Now I play rook a d1 here with the idea of playing d5 and getting rid of this isolated pawn. Now let's say black were to play a move like a6 here. After d5 takes here, you've got these knights in the middle of the board, the two towers on the open lanes, the queen perfectly placed with the classic 90-degree right triangle, and all of the pieces have achieved perfect harmony, and black is in serious trouble here, if not completely lost already. So Levon plays knight d5. I trade the horses. He can't take with the queen here, because after queen takes, and knight d7, the knight forks the towers, and I win the game. So we get the move pawn takes knight. I play knight g4 here. Now this move, to me, is a sign of just how good my form was, because I found this move in about 20 seconds, and it is clearly the best move according to the computer, because now black is going to have a serious problem with guarding this pawn on d5, and white is already very close to winning. Lev goes queen d7, I play rook e5, rook d8, and now after the move knight to e3, I'm going to win this pawn on d5 and be up a pawn, and from a technical standpoint, I should be close to winning. Now, of course, in recent times, in many blitz games, I've taken much more winning positions than this and messed them up, so it's anybody's guess as to whether I will convert. So we get bishop f6. Now I play the move rook takes pawn, Levon goes queen c6, I play rook c5, we do a little bit of a dance, and now I trade and go d5. Levon plays queen c7, I go a4, and here we get the move b6, and now I play queen b5. Now again, at this point, what I'm trying to do is put everything here on the light squares, where after I play a move like b3, black's bishop cannot touch anything. I can also create the bastion where the knight supports the pawn thrust, and it should be quite easy. So I go knight c4, we get bishop e7, here I play rook e1, we get queen c5, takes, rook d1, and now Levon plays king f8. I go king f1, king e7, knight to e5, king f6, knight c6, rook d7, and here I miss an instant win with the move b4. The reason this move would have been winning versus what I played in the game is after bishop d6 and b5 here, I fix this pawn on a7, which is always stuck here. If you ever push forward, I play n peasant, and then I win the game. And if you don't push the pawn, this knight will always target this pawn, and black is struggling mightily. Instead, I go king e2, Levon plays a5. Now the bishop is anchored on c5 by the pawn. The pawn on a5 also stops white from playing b4, while the bishop spies the pawn on f2. Now, the great thing about this position, like the previous game that we just looked at where I played Ray Robson, is that I am just outclassing Levon on the clock. I have 50 seconds versus 7 seconds. I'm up a pawn, and this is a big departure from what I've done in a lot of recent tournaments. So here I go f4, Levon plays h5, and now I play this move g3. Now there's nothing wrong with g3, but I simply should have gone king to f3 right away here. I was actually worried that Levon could maybe go h4, but after knight to e5, rook d6, and king g4, I'm simply going to win this pawn on h4. If black goes bishop f2, I can go knight c4, rook d7, and now after d6, the bishop is kind of stuck in two worlds. You're trying to guard all these pawns at the same time. White has knight e5, and this should be close to winning. Instead, I go g3, and now Levon is able to play the move g5. I go king f3, takes, and here we got the move bishop d6. Now again, I'm so much better in this position, but Levon has achieved a bit of a setup here as the bishop stops the pawn from going forward. It targets the pawn on f4, and now the knight on c6, which looks very well placed, can't actually go to any good squares. So I play knight d4. We got bishop c5, I go knight e2, h4, knight c3, king f5, knight e4, and now Levon plays the move bishop b4 with the pawns anchoring the bishop. Now this position, I play the move b3 here after a bit of a think. I initially wanted to go pawn to d6, but I was very concerned that after king to e6 here, black is now threatening to take the pawn. If I run my king with king g4, there's f5 check, forking the king and the knight, and now out of nowhere, I lose the game. So I play b3 here. Putting the pawn on the light square, bishop can never touch it, and now we get f6. Here I play rook d4, rook d8, rook d3, rook d7, And now I go knight f2, bishop c5, knight g4, and Levon plays move king g6. Now, to Levon's credit, he is defending extremely well in this position with only seconds left on the clock. He's not cracking the way that I would ordinarily expect him to, and this makes my task much more difficult. So I go rook d1. We get rook g7 here. This is a move which I don't like. I think Levon still should have just played rook d8, rook d7, and sat on the position, but instead he plays rook g7. Now I go knight to e3 here, trying to stop the king from coming to f5, and Levon blunders away the game with this move f5. Now here, if Levon were to trade the bishop for the knight, this is still probably winning for white with perfect play, but with ideas like rook g3 attacking both the pawns, it's going to require quite a bit of technique here, and I'm not 100% sure that I would have won this position. Instead, Levon plays f5 here, and he blunders the move rook to g1, checking the king. And here, Levon Aronian resigns the game, because after the king goes, I swap the towers, I take the pawn, take this one, and once again, we're in an endgame where I will have 5 pawns versus 2, and Black's bishop, again, can never win any of these pawns, so the game will end in my favor. So I get this very, very nice win. This now puts me on a very, very big score of 6.5 points out of 7. I was now, I believe, I was 1 point clear of the field. But in the 8th round, I would face my fellow countryman, Samuel Sevian, and we would play a very topsy-turvy game. It was a game where I was probably better somewhere in the middle. Ultimately, I'd make a very, very big blunder. Sam would beat me, and that sets up a very, very dramatic 9th and final round of the American Cup Blitz. So, going into the 9th and final round, the situation is very clear. Samuel Sevian and myself were both on 6.5 points out of 8. I'm playing with the black pieces against Mikhail Antipov, while Sam Sevian is playing with the black pieces against Levon Aronian. So if I win the game, I will guarantee that I at least tie for first place. If I win and Sam doesn't win, then I win outright. Any other result, a draw or a loss, who knows what will happen. So Antipov opens with the move e4. I play e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now we get the move bishop c4. I play knight f6, d3, and bishop e7, and this, of course, is the classic Gucci piano. Now, in the main tournament, there were many Gucci pianos played, but even in the Blitz state, there were more Gucci pianos that were played. I had this against Mishra, I had it against Sevian. So many people apparently want to be Italians these days instead of being Spanish. Now, that of course, is a joke for anyone who's wondering, because in the old days, the main opening here was bishop b5, the Spanish opening, or the Ruy Lopez, but now everybody is playing bishop c4, which is known as the Gucci piano, or the Italian game. So I play bishop e7, Antipov goes a4, castles, knight c3, d6, and now we get the move a5. Now, one of the drawbacks of playing against Mikhail Antipov is even if you look at his rating and you think maybe he's only 2570, he has been a long-time second of the current world number 5, and one of the players that I face in this American Cup, Fabiano Caruana, for quite a while, and so I have no doubt in my mind that this variation that Antipov played was probably something that he had prepared and or even mentioned to Fabiano in recent times. So we get a5. Here I play the move bishop to e6, Antipov plays a6, I go b6, and now we get the move knight d5. Now, in openings like the Italian, there's so many little nuances that it's very hard to understand what is going on in all these positions. For example, if we go back to this position after, instead of a4, you can get this exact same position where white can castle and play something like knight d5, bishop e6. White can also play h3 and knight d5. White can also play something like a3. And then after castles, bishop e3, bishop e6, play knight d5. So all these positions are kind of similar, but we reach a version of it where white pushes the pawn all the way to a6, and I respond with b6. So now we get the move knight d5, I play queen c8, we got c3, and here I play the move bishop d8. Now, this is simply an inaccurate plan by me, but it is a blitz game where I'm facing very serious preparation, so I try to follow a plan similar to what I did against Fabiano in our tiebreak match about 3 or 4 days ago. Now, as you will recall, in my match against Fabiano, the way that went was after knight c3, d6, we got a3, I castled, Fabiano played bishop a2, bishop e6, knight d5, and here I played this move queen to c8, and it was a very, very messy game. Eventually, I would play bishop d8 and trade the bishop for the knight, so I try to play something that I'm familiar with from a different position. So I go bishop d8, we get castles. Here I play the move rook b8. This move, by the way, is simply a bad move, but when I played rook b8, my idea was to play b5 and b4, trying to open up the b file for the rook. We get rook to e1, and now I play the move h6, and this move is simply a bad choice. Now, I should have stuck to my initial plan, which was to go b5, bishop b3, and then b4, or maybe h6, but when I go h6 right away, now Antipov is able to play the move d4, building a big white center here, and at this point I am in serious trouble in this position. So I go bishop g4. This is a mistake because Antipov correctly plays bishop b5, attacking the knight on c6 here, and here I am in serious trouble. Now I play the move knight takes knight after a 50-second think. I spent a lot of time here because I was looking in vain for any other move. For example, knight a5 was a move I thought about, but after takes, and b4, c6, bishop f1, the knight is simply trapped. I have no squares available. I'm going to lose the horse, and I'm going to lose the game, and disaster will strike. Additionally, if I were to play a move like knight e7 here, white trades the horses, and now the h6 pawn hangs. I'm going to lose this rook on f8, and again, it's GG, why not? So I trade the horses, I go knight e7, Antipov takes, and here he plays the move h3. Now, I was really hoping that Antipov would play rook takes pawn here, because after move c6 takes, knight c6, and rook to e1, for example, after bishop f6, I thought maybe I can activate my rook and be in the game. Apparently, I'm just losing after bishop f4, so maybe this wouldn't have worked out either. But ultimately, Antipov plays h3. So I trade, I go knight g6 here, guarding the pawn, we get queen h5, and now I play the move king h7. Now, I actually was quite optimistic about this position here, because even though white has the two Bs, if I can start pushing these pawns on the F and E files here, the bishops aren't going to have great access points on the diagonals, and maybe I can turn the game around. So we got bishop d3. Here I play f5, and now Antipov makes a big mistake with the move f3. Now, I did not see this during the game, but it was pointed out to me afterwards that white could have played the move g4, because after the move e4 here, if white moves the bishop away, I have knight e5 or knight h4. Both squares lead to this knight f3 route where I can win the game. But here, white can sack the rook with rook takes pawn, and after takes, and rook f6 here, white has bishop g5, attacking the rook and the bishop here, and after rook d6, bishop f4, black is probably losing here, because if I go rook f6 back, there's bishop e5, and this double wooden shield will effectively decide the game. And if I play queen d7, white can simply take. And now after the move rook to e1, bishop g5, and something like bishop c2, rook to e6 is incoming with a kebab on the 6th rank, and I'm just getting absolutely pulverized. Fortunately for me, Antipov plays f3, but here I play the move queen d7, and as soon as I played the move queen d7, I realized that I could have played this great move bishop to h4, attacking the rook, and after rook to e2, I can go bishop g3, which guards his pawn on e5 with both the bishop and the knight, but more importantly, it stops white from going g4 to try and open up the diagonal. Now, what I did just realize here is the computer actually says white can again go for this move rook to e4 with the clean rook sack, and apparently white is fine. I have no doubt this would not have happened, and probably I would have gone on to a clean victory had I played bishop h4. Instead, I go queen d7. Now Antipov plays g4, opening up the diagonals here, and I go e4 in the position. Now, e4 is a bit of a desperado move here. I can't let white take this pawn, so I have to try and mess it up. And after takes, knight e5, we get the move bishop e2, and here I play the move queen d6. Now, Antipov is very low on time here. He has 8 seconds versus my 47 seconds. But the big issue here is that white's moves are still quite easy. Now, in this position, I play the move queen d6 after about a 7-second think, and this is a bit of a panic decision. Now, what I should have played was f4, and after takes, f3 here. White is still probably quite a bit better after king g2, and something like bishop to e3, but who knows what will happen. Instead, I play queen d6 here, and this is a bit of hope chess, where I figure there's an idea of moving the knight and getting queen g3, something happening, but Antipov simply takes the pawn, and now if I were to play knight d3 here, hoping for takes and queen g3, white will snuff everything out by going queen g6, checking the king, and after takes, white takes the horse, white has an extra bishop, and I resign immediately. So I go c6 here, Antipov plays king g2, I play bishop c7, trying to line up the classic double-A battery on the diagonal, but here we get the move bishop f4. I take, we get rook d1, queen e7, takes, and now I play the move rook d8. Now at this point, I'm simply down 2 pawns here. White has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 pawns, however, white's king is a little bit weak, and I have a little bit of an outpost here. So at this point, I was holding out some hope that because of both the time and the king weakness, maybe I could find a way to save the game. Antipov plays rook d1, I take, and here he plays the move rook takes rook. Now this position, I thought I had tricked him initially. Whoops, I didn't mean to go back to the start. At this point, I thought I had tricked him in this position here, because after rook takes rook, I played the move knight to f7 here, trying to attack the bishop on f4, but also if white were to take the bishop, I can take the pawn on e4. Actually, If I take e4, white is queen f3. Apparently, I'm completely insane. But Antipov thought the same thing too, because otherwise he would have simply traded the bishop. So he's worried about queen takes e4, hitting everything, which is why he plays the move queen g6. Now this actually puts a little bit of a damper on my mood, because I thought bishop c7, queen e4 was simply winning the game for me, but both queen f3 and bishop f3, and white's just winning here. So this whole idea with knight f7 is complete bologna. Ironically, however, it's going to work out, because after check, king h8, he has to play the move queen e6, because now if white were to take... Oh, I thought here I could take. Apparently there's still bishop f3. Shows how good my bullet chess is these days with these instinct moves. But Antipov plays move queen e6. Now, when Antipov goes queen e6, I was actually shocked by this move, because here he offers the trade of the queens, and with the 2 extra pawns, I'm going to lose any endgame. Luckily, I find the only resource with queen h4 takes a knight g5 here. Now the knight attacks the queen and the knight are attacking these 2 pawns, and I have the rook on the f file. Now this is still winning for white, but with 4 seconds left here, I'm just hoping to get a prayer and maybe find a miracle. So we get queen d6. Now this move is a big mistake here. What Antipov should have played was queen to e7, as the queen guards this pawn and targets the rook. And after takes, king f2 here, the queen guards e4, and after check, white starts to run the king over to the queen side, and black is going to lose the game. Luckily for me, we get to move queen d6, and now I take. We get king g1, check, king f1, check, king e1, check, and here we get to move bishop f1. Now, if Antipov were to go to either f2 or d2, both of these squares would lead to knight takes e4, forking the king and the queen. So we get bishop f1. Now I play rook to e8 here, a very slippery move here. The bishop is pinned, the queen and the rook are targeting the pawn, and I was quite sure here that I was going to win the game. But Antipov finds the move rook to d4. This is actually not the best move, but it still keeps the game going. The computer wants queen c6, which is apparently winning. Frankly, this is an insane move, as you allow all kinds of checks. Rook takes pawn, queen takes pawn. Everything is hanging here, but it is winning. We get rook d4. I go knight takes e4. And now Antipov finds the move queen g6. Now here, you'll notice that my knight can move almost anywhere. There's knight d6, knight f6, knight g3, but amazingly, none of the fossils lead to anything more than equality. So I go check. We get king f2, check, king e1, check, king f2, and here I play knight e4 back, effectively offering Antipov a draw by repetition. Antipov decides to sack the rook, and after takes, he goes for the move bishop d6. Here, white has 2 bishops in return for a rook, but due to this open king, there are still good practical chances for me to save the game. So I go check, king g2, check, king h2, check, and here after king g1, I find the move rook to e4, setting up this idea of rook to g4 to check the king and win this queen on g6. Now here, Antipov plays move bishop g2, we do a little bit of a dance, and we get the move bishop g3. Now this move still leads to a draw here, because after I play rook g4 here, white cannot take the queen, as I would capture the king, and here white has one way to save the game, which is to go queen e8 check, king h7, queen g6, and the game will end by repetition, because if I take the queen, after takes, king is in check, I take, white captures the queen, white has 2 b's, and this is a very basic elementary win. Antipov finally, however, blunders with the move king to f2, and this simply allows me to play the move queen takes bishop, checking the king, the rook guards the queen, and here Antipov resigns the game, because after king e2, I take the queen, take the pawn, I have a queen versus a bishop, and I will finally win at long last. So this was a very, very topsy-turvy game, really back and forth. Antipov, to his credit, played like an absolute beast with 2 seconds on the clock from somewhere like move 30. A lot of credit goes to him for defending. Ultimately, he makes the final blunder, so I get a little bit of a miracle win in this game. And with my victory and Samuel Sevian's loss to Levon Aronian, this means that I win the American Cup Blitz with a score of 7.5 points out of 9. Second place was Levon Aronian with 7 points. This means I also get the $5,000 grand prize for winning, bringing my total winnings for this past week up to $95,000 here in St. Louis. So this Blitz tournament was very exciting, a lot of crazy games throughout. Ultimately, I ended up victorious, showing that even if I'm not as great as I used to be, I still have some skill in Blitz. So, on that note, I hope you guys have enjoyed this recap from the American Cup Blitz being held here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back with some more great recaps and all kinds of content in the coming days. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day. Keep it real. Bye.